that yourself, when you say I, the true meaning of I is joy. It is happiness. It is life. And it's also the witnessing of life. So all the other things is just no big deal, you know. All the other things is just swimming by, just like clouds in the sky. You know, you don't want to hang on to any cloud, because for how long will that last? Let them pass, let them pass. And that's not to say don't enjoy your family, don't enjoy whatever, enjoy what comes, but don't worry about anything. Just be happy, 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 and know that whatever happens in life, and the final point, everything is fine. All is fine. So, namaste. Namaste. Mm-hmm. Namaste. That's all I want to tell you. Uh-huh. Happy, happy, happy.
There were people going around who were so identified with being pure awareness. It's like that had become their new identity. Their ego had latched onto this idea that they are pure awareness. You know, and I'm only exposing this because this is what I did for many years as well. I was one of these people. I believed with all my strength and all my heart and all my might that I am pure awareness. I'm not a mind, I'm not a body, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my story. I am pure awareness. So there's a beautiful truth to that statement, but the danger is, and I've just seen this, I saw this happen in myself, I see this happen in non-dual students, I've seen this happen in non-dual teachers. It just becomes a new resting place, it becomes a new dogma, it becomes a new identity. I am pure awareness. And you kind of, the danger is you fall into this kind of untouchable place.
Yeah. He's a hardy dog. I don't know what the name, the proper name of the bird is. Anyways. Hey. Lovely, hey? I can't make this point any clearer. And, you know, it can't be said enough times. And, to hell with all the spiritual blah jargon of whatever is out there nowadays. Most of the stuff, just, this is what I have to say. This is Aaron's philosophy. Who the hell is Aaron? Who gives him the right? Well, I do. I give myself the right. And yeah, I stand to be proven corrected. And I will update my thinking or my feeling. I don't know if it is obviously an assumption, because all we can do is assume, but this makes perfect sense to me. Couldn't be make better sense than this in regards to consciousness and spirituality and light versus dark and the psyche and subconscious and I don't know, energies and I don't know, all of that stuff. Whatever, let's just leave that aside. I'm saying I'm saying the same thing, but let's look at this, right? If there is no self in the person, if they haven't self-actualized, if they haven't brought themselves out of their conditioning, out of their brainwashing, out of their trauma, right, which once upon a time disconnected them from their authentic self, from their spirit, from their soul, from their essence, from their being, whatever that is. You know, again, I am using words because we have to use words, but we try our best and to be expressive and in context of what we're talking about. But you know what I mean. A lot of people who don't have a self don't know what you're talking about. That's why it's so easy to tell people with, non-dualism, there's no self. It's so easy to say that because the person with the no self already doesn't have a self, so they associate with it. But when you tell somebody who's got a self, and what does a self mean? I'll get to. When you tell somebody who's got a self, oh, it's very offensive. I find it highly, highly offensive. So when you see people flocking to that non-dual and all of those things and sitting and talking the same crap over and over and over again, right? Yes, it might have some truth to it, not very helpful, not very realistic, not very reasonable in help us navigating the world and especially relationships. Do you ever, one of the most trying and difficult parts of our lives is relationships with others. And yet I don't see any non-dual people talking about that. Why? Because I don't believe in relationships. Because there's nobody here to have a relationship. Darn, that is such good advice. That is so helpful. I mean, really. You know, thank goodness non-dual, like this type of teaching wasn't like the worldwide universal dogma, because then we would have just driven ourselves off a cliff even sooner than we have. I mean, it would have been ridiculous. It would have just been absolutely, what a disaster. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. So no self people are happy to hear that. Again, the guilt, the shame that they feel, or just the emptiness that they feel, the void, the chasm that they feel, the hole, the emptiness that they feel, and being governed, listen to this now, being governed by their subconscious and unforeseen forces within them and without them. They are puppets on a string. They are a ship at sea without what's that thing called? The not just a steering wheel, but the thing at the back, and I don't know, it's an udder or something, whatever, I don't know. It's from a cow, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? That thing that stirs at the back. They're lost at sea. There's no self. And so whichever the wind blows, whichever the way the water, the current moves, they're like a cat. The best example that I can think of is with my cat. My cat, she's just a wandering, well, for her it works because she's a cat, but you can't understand her. You can't understand cats. They're the most mysterious things, and you cannot train a cat. Well, I haven't had that experience. So even when the cat does something naughty and you shout at her, she'll do it again because she doesn't know. It's the same thing with people that have no self. They have no center. They have no inner guidance. They have no inner navigation. They're controlled by their emotions most of the time. They're completely and utterly triggered by the environment. They're emotionally based, limbic part of the brain based. Instant gratification, me, selfishness. That's the whole thing. Is that it's put in with it some very dark, evil forces, which I really do believe, exist, and they haunt. It's the same software that is running in no self people of the selfishness. It's the same program. If you take human beings, right, and we have an operating system, the no self people, the non-self actualized people, and I'm not talking about awakening or enlightenment or something like that, or Satori or anything like that. I'm not talking about anything like that for someone, awakening, and one day you'll just get it. One day you'll get it and it'll all make sense to you and you'll have a big fat belly laugh. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that while I'm losing my train of thought. Completely lost my train of thought. Okay, something about us being computers, and the non-self people, again, the people that haven't self-actualized, the people that are still stuck in the, sort of it's the carnal mind as well, which is very, again, self-gratifying. When there's no self, there's no other. That's why a guy like Muji can sit on top of the stage, in all his glory and with all the negative press that he gets as well, that gets sort of pushed under the carpet, and tell people that are suffering like from real pain and suffering and trauma that they've come from their childhood, and I'm saying even in their own lives, their own loneliness, their own fears, their own emptiness, their own anxieties, and he'll sit there and he'll honestly feel nothing but to say, just be the observer of that experience and realize that's not who you are, and then that's okay. You are the divine essence of all being. There is no separation. Your mind is making you suffer. And somebody to do that and to disassociate the person from their direct experience, the fact that they're still stuck in the limbic brain, they're still stuck. The brain is hardwired. It's like a drug addict telling a drug addict who's severe, of like 20 years of alcohol, severe abuse. He's messed up his own life, his finances, his relationships, his health. He's done so much damage, and he carries around so much insecurity and so much guilt and so much shame and so much self-loathing, and he just can't stand to be with himself, and he hates himself, and he just like doesn't, he's just a burden to his family and everybody else around him. And he sits in front of Muji, and Muji says, all you need to do is be the observer of the happening. There is no you. There's just a story. It's a narrative. I don't know what crap he says, but it's the same thing. I mean, I know what he says. He says, just be the witness, and in that spaciousness, because that's what you are. Everything else is an illusion. It's just just have no attachment to your identity, to have no attachment to your emotional state. It's impossible, people. It's impossible. It's like telling a fish not to live in water. It's so stupid. And so a heartless son of a bitch, I'm sorry, a guy like Muji and so many others, Eckhart, who will tell you can help you get rid of 95% of your unhappiness or your suffering just by doing something very simple, is bullshit. And people believe it because they're desperate to not really look at themselves, and they want a quick fix because the real work is too painful. The self-actualization is too much of a responsibility. They don't have the kahunas for it. They don't have the guts for it. They don't have the spine for it. They don't believe they'll think I'm a divine being in godly essence, but they won't honor it. They won't take leaps of faith. They won't be of service to a higher being, a higher plan, or whatever it is. It's all about me reaching enlightenment, or me seeing that there's no self and the self-discovery. It's just selfishness. How are you going to help anybody else by being a no self? How are you going to be anybody else by just checking out or just thinking that you're enlightened? You're going to show people the way to path to it. It's a trick, man. It's a trick. Some guys were sitting many thousands of years ago, and they sit on the corner, they're like, I wonder how we can make some money. Like, I wonder how we can sort of trick people into, believing that they've reunited with God consciousness. Yeah, but without actually doing it. Yeah, great. And these guys, real skillums, as they say here in South Africa, like a skillum is somebody who does, sells sort of fake watches on the side of the road as real, or, just real tricksters. And then they open up ashrams or whatever else that they did, and all of these things and all this nonsense. Shortcuts, and then this, snake oil salesman. I'm getting carried away. Seriously, it's such garbage out there. I'll be watching YouTube I'm going off this, whatever tangent. I mean, like I'm saying, not on point here, and I listen to these videos. It's like, say these 9 words before you sleep. So while you're sleeping in your dream, you will manifest to become rich. Oh. I mean, I know, it's a joke. It is a joke. Whatever. It's just laughable. So much of it is laughable. But the thing is that there's so much of it, it's like, well, all these people can't be wrong. Guess what? They're wrong. According to who? According to me. That's it. It's my world. If I want to see it the way that I want to see it, then that's fine. If it helps other people, then great. I'm very egoic. Well, this is obvious. A no-self person, a person that's not actualized, cannot deeply care for the well-being of others. They don't even know how to. They're not alive. They're walking body of flesh. And yes, they feel pain. And yes, but it's most of the time it's very, very superficial. There's nothing transformational in their lives. Nothing really. No large events or something like that. They've just plugged in. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, they just carry on and they stay the same. Because there's no self to pull them out of the pit, out of the darkness, out of the abyss, and to make something of themselves. There is no self. So you can't work with somebody who's got no self, or doesn't even want to know their self, or self-actualization. They don't want to embrace, their pain. They don't want to know their deep suffering. So they go to church and they pray to God, and they do fasting, and they do breath work, and all of these things, and they pray for a miracle. When the whole time God is saying, people are praying to me to be for miracles, but they must be the miracle in their own lives. We refuse to be the miracle, so people are so religious of all these customs and whatever it is, and so God save me, from my pain and my suffering and whatever it is. So, well, you got to go through the journey, man. I don't know what to tell you. I can't just, like, one day you're in the matrix and the next day, boom, I click my fingers and you're out of the matrix. No, you've got to go through a whole deconditioning process, man. Then you've got to go through a whole new, realignment with oneself in their actions, in their words, in their relationships, in everything. You've got to really, have a death rebirth, and not just a dark night of the soul. It's a long, long road. It's a lifetime of work that's always ongoing. And no matter how much think you know and how much distance you think you've traveled, there's still so much more to go. But that doesn't mean to be, overwhelmed by it or apathetic, because any bit of work is major work. It's highly unlikely that people on this planet are under these circumstances, and also on this planet, that do much work. So even if you do a little bit, even if you make it to, like, maybe there's 50 levels in the game, and maybe you make it to the 20th level, that's still pretty far, because only most people will make it to about the 2nd or 3rd level, if that. So I'm saying it's much bigger and much larger than we can suppose. And again, I don't know, I've gone off topic. Maybe I wasn't prepared for this conversation. I've just been so frustrated with people in my life, just realizing that, they just can't change. They just, no matter what the price is, no matter what the cost is, this is what I can't believe. It doesn't matter what the cost is to their own children, to their own well-being, psychological, mental, spiritual, whatever it is, that identity, that false self, if you want to call it that, who they think they are, right? And which is just, again, a combination of trauma that's mixed into the subconscious, that's mixed in with a whole bunch of media and brainwashing and all of that other stuff. And you know what I'm saying. It's just a whole bag of things just floating around. There are a whole bunch of code, just code of just destructive code that is just not, it's not their own code that's running in their system. It's a I don't know, fictitious code, if you're talking about like operating systems, that's running the show, and it's not their code. It's not their true operating system. They've been hijacked. It's a virus of some kind, and they're living sickly, and they don't know it. So there's a false self, which is, again, this ego, which is all about survival and all about one-upmanship, and it's all about me. I cannot believe the level of selfishness that I see in the world today and people in my life. Munchausen syndrome, I've spoken about this before. It's sickening. It's absolutely sickening what goes on. I heard the other day a story of the father was giving too much attention to his daughter, so the mother intervened, and what did she do? She wanted to, I couldn't remember the whole story. I heard it in bits and pieces, but she wanted to send the daughter away, or she made the daughter, I couldn't remember what it was, or something or other. It was horrible. But these things happen. It can happen. It can happen that if a wife who's, sort of, because of, let's say, wants to interfere with the relationship that the husband has with the daughter, because the daughter's getting so much attention, will say that, it's possible. If they get into a fight, I'm going to tell people that you molested our daughter. It's crazy what people will do in order to get their way. Okay, maybe that's not a good example. I can't remember the story, and it was some time. Well, it was, I should have paid more attention. It was one of these episodes in women that murder and go to jail. So talking about like envy and what we do and how we sabotage ourselves and people. And that's the evilness. That's the evilness that's going on in the world today. Which, again, the conscious community, spiritual community, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about how dangerous we really are when there is no self. There's no consistency in the person. You can meet them, they'll be different from Monday morning to Monday afternoon. They're like a child, like a cat. Cat is not consistent. Oh, my cat is the most inconsistent creature I know. I can't get into it, but it's so inconsistent. There's no, yes, they are, like I'm saying, schedules, but there's just, sometimes she'll beg me to come outside and walk with her and, play with her outside, whatever it is. As soon as I get outside, she just runs away. And then sometimes she's there. Sometimes she's very friendly. Other times she's not. And I know as human beings, we have our moods and we have our days. But there is like a general sort of, level, of consistency. But with a cat, there's no consistency. There isn't. One day she loves the chicken that I give her, absolutely loves it, and then she hasn't had it for a while. I give it to her, she doesn't want it anymore. You just don't know. It's the same thing with a child. You buy a child a toy, and they're interested for it for like 2 hours, and they throw it away. They don't ever use it again. They go into something else and that's fine for a child, and that's the way that it's supposed to be. But then a self develops that helps navigate through the world. But that's why the people are inconsistent. So you don't know who you're getting. You don't know who you're talking to from day to day. One day they're really going to die and change the diet. The next 2 days later, it's like, don't judge me. They're sitting at McDonald's. And then the one day they do these things. There's no consistency. There's no follow through. There's no real work on themselves. They're not really personally motivated for their own well-being. They're not for their own health. If they're going to gym, it's again to look good. It's also to feel good. But it's not just a general upkeep or well-being of your consciousness, of your spirit, of your soul. They're not motivated to look after their spiritual self or their real self, their actual self. And it's great. People are going to gym and whatever it is that they're doing. That's great, but they're not really elevating their consciousness in a sense. It's not like that. Again, their lives, the people with no self don't have a spiritual connection. They don't have a deeper connection to meaning. They don't. They'll say that they believe in God, and they'll say that they, believe in life after death. They'll say that, the Bible and whatever it is, but, and that Jesus died for us. They say these things. But these are just concepts in their minds. There's no emotional relationship to the experience and what they're talking about. You can feel it. It's like they're reading from a script. So they're just stuck in this realm. They're stuck in this realm. And then you get the pretenders who pretend. I'm saying again in the more psychedelic community or something like that. But it's not about elevating one's consciousness to get closer to source, get closer to God. It's not. It's also to belong to sort of some kind of culture or a cult or a club or something like that. Yeah. That's why, like, for me, if you take a guy like Eckhart, he's not what you see, is what you get. He's not, if you have to follow him around, you see, Jesus, guy's very, very unconscious. Like, very, very, you'll be like, damn it, man, I can't believe this is extreme. You would be, if you saw Muji walking around, you'd be like, damn it. And so many of these people, you just follow them around for like a day or two, you'd be like, I can't believe these people and how they actually are behind the scenes. And that's what I'm saying with most people. They'll tell you all of these things, but they're a child inside. There's no self. They're still immature. They're still regressed, right? They haven't really grown. They haven't really, left the kiddies pool. They haven't even learned to swim in the ocean of mystery, in the ocean of self. They haven't even started developing themselves. They haven't even created a self, and lived a life with that intentionally every single day. They haven't lived with that intention of self-care. And I'm not talking about just the care of, like people think, oh, I'm caring for my child if I spoil them and I get them the new Power Ranger or the new Spider-Man, whatever, and all this crap, I'm spoiling them and let them stay up late and eat junk food, and I'm spoiling them. That's what you think. You're spoiling the false self. And it's the same thing that people do with themselves. I'm spoiling myself. I'm getting myself the latest cell phone or, the latest outfit or something. It's just spoiling them, but it's not their true self. They don't care for their true self. Just like a parent who feeds their child junk food all the time because, they want to make the child happy and spoil them. Overly spoil them and not give them real love and guidance, whatever it is. It's the same thing. They don't care about the well-being of the child. How are they going to care about the well-being of the child? Also, they had the child a lot of the time because society and culture tells them to. Thank goodness there is something biological within us that, there is a little bit of part of nurturing that goes on. But it's just the bare basics. It's just that somebody doesn't throw their child out of the driving, the car window when it's screaming and shouting or something like that. But how many parents just go put their child in a room and close the door and let them cry? I mean, my stepfather was so proud of that. He said every one of my children, when they started performing at night, he said my wife and I would close the door, would put on some jazz, like music, whatever it was, not jazz. What kind of music is it? Like Bach or Beethoven or something like that. And, we'd just drown out the screaming to the child of the screaming child. Children should be seen and not heard. Yeah. So why did you have children in the first place? Yeah, for your own self-gratification. That's it. Not to be of service. I haven't met a person with a self that is not all about service. I'm not saying all about service, but service to themselves, to their care, to the love for themselves, to the care for nature and the planet, for a sensitivity towards animals, a respect for time and not to sincerely, not all the time waste time, that has ethics and has morals and tries to be consistent and tries to find meaning and is honoring their pain and their suffering and their challenges that bring them to their knees all the time, the disappointments, the letdown, the hurt. They wrestle with God. That's it. There's activity going on. There's action. And the people that have no self, they haven't told us, they need drama. They need drama in their lives. They love drama. This person with self wants peace. They want stability. They don't like chaos. The no self people, I'm not talking about the neo-advaita or whatever it is, a non-Jew. I'm talking about the people that haven't self-actualized, the kindergartens, the NPCs, right? Those of us, they love drama. They love it. It makes them feel alive, right? They love grotesque things. They like pornographic things that are very extreme. They like to be shocked. They like shock and horror. When I drive past an accident on the road, I keep looking straight ahead. I don't want to see what's going on there. Thank you very much. I have no desire to see somebody else suffering in pain that might be, taking their last dying breath. And there I am out of curiosity. This poor soul that this has just happened to, maybe will never walk again in their life or something like that. I mean, severe brain damage and trauma. And my curiosity might say, well, it's the human nature. Well, control that shit. Control it. We don't need to hear about how Angelina and Brad Pitt are not getting along well. We don't need that shit, or how Justin, slapped Haley in public, or whatever it might be, Justin Bieber. We don't need to know this stuff. We don't need to know all the ins and the outs and the drama that plays out. I don't want to watch violent movies and be desensitized in my own life, because that's also what's going on. We're just constantly desensitized, I'm not interested in something that doesn't try at least to bring across a message, that tries to increase consciousness and bring godliness into the world. I'm not really interested in it. I mean, I listen to Seinfeld. I watch it a lot of the time. I think it's funny. There's creativity. There's imagination there. It's somewhat harmless in that way. I mean, they're a little bit out of hand and everything else, but what can you do? But man, oh man, it's do or die, hey? If you not get busy living, you get busy dying. And that's the same thing with Andy Dufresne, that he was really the only one who made it out of Shawshank. He was the only one who managed to escape. He was the only one. And he risked it all. He risked it all. And everything that he went through, it didn't dampen, it dampened his spirits, but still, Truman was the only one who made it out of the Truman Show. Nobody else made it out of the Truman Show. But none of them were actors. They were all actors. And they will all be forever stuck in their role because they've dedicated their lives to being in the Truman Show. I'm saying the main players. And they'll be typecasted for the rest of their lives. And people will be doing interviews until the rest of their lives. It'll be, that's who they will be. It's like, again, Kramer from Seinfeld. He'll always be Kramer. Will always be Kramer. That's not his real name, but he'll always be Kramer. So you typecasted. And that's what people want to be doing. They want to be typecasted. They want to be seen. And it's ridiculous for their job, or for their, I don't know, just their narcissism. That's one, hell to hell with it. It's all about the false self, and it's a greedy, hungry monster when there's no self, because there's an insatiable appetite of destruction, of chaos, of consumption. It just pours out the evil into this world, the darkness into this world, because there's an empty vessel that is just an NPC that is programmed to destruct and destroy that which is beautiful and destroy that which is sacred. That, if you want to call it, is Satan's minions or something like that in the world that we live in. They're not godly people. They're not people of the light. No, they don't. They just bring darkness into the world and people into their own lives. And yes, I'm talking about the high school teacher, Molly Spencer, so sweet and so whatever it is. Yeah, I'm talking about her. The librarian. Yeah, I'm talking about her. Whoever it might be. Yeah, I'm talking about the people at the vet. I'm talking to people at the Red Cross. Yeah, majority of all these do-gooding, virtuous kind of people. Mother Teresa. You know what went on with Mother Teresa? Yay. What really went on with Mother Teresa? What really, Gandhi, or what's his name? What is that, the guy, Tibetan, what's his name, the monk, the Dalai Lama, sticking his tongue out and telling a child to suck his tongue. This is true, check it out. Have a look, see. You can't tell me that somebody of such high enlightenment and such wise words, look at the popes. Look at all these people, How is it that you get a guy like Muji and you have so many stories of people, not just one or two, but so many stories of him and getting up to so much naughty business that somebody of that kind of stature shouldn't do? What about the fact that he's so overweight? I'm sorry, I know some people have an eating problem, whatever it is, but does it not matter? Is it not your health not important? I know I've seen him do exercise and whatever it is, but it's like, the Buddha had a tummy and something like that, but it's overindulgence. I'm putting on weight, I'm trying to lose it, Really, it's overindulgence. And it's not healthy. Weight, I don't care what you say. Well, weight is not healthy. And I know people have struggles with their weight and it's emotional eating and everything else. And that's okay if you can't really, for some people I understand it. But really we should be working on that and taking it seriously. I vape. I know it's terrible and I shouldn't vape, but I'm not in the frame of mind to stop right now. There's too much shit going on in my life. There's too much crap that no self people are bringing into my life. That is turning my life upside down because they have no self and they refuse to take on the self. There's too much shame to even start on the journey. There's too much fear. There's too much self-loathing. But they'll tell you, no. They think they're so far on the journey. Be like, my darling, you haven't taken the first step. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that they're wasting time. They don't want to hear that they're deluding themselves. They don't want to hear it. It's the worst thing to tell somebody. But you know what? I'm sorry, kid. That's what you get. I'm not telling you because I enjoy telling you. I wish it was sincere. I wish I could see that you've progressed. I wish I could, commend you on it. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're imagining it. And that's what the New Age is about. And that's what, again, with these people and spiritual people, and you meet them, you're like, dude, I'm sorry to tell you, bro, but you're not holding in a good place. You really haven't. And if somebody can say that to me, I say, welcome it. Tell me, please, show me. Oh, I really want to see for myself where I haven't grown. And let me try and prove if you're wrong. I'm open to the discussion. I'm open to it. I'm willing to talk about it. I want to talk about it. I'd love to talk about it. Show me where I haven't gone. Where I haven't grown. Show me when I've gone wrong. Show me, tell me, what is it? Because I want to, and as fast as I can, as immediately as I can, I want to change that. I have to change that because it's life or death and I'm serious. And I will try my darndest by my own will and confidence and strength and faith in God or source of divinity. I will try my best. And I do try every day. I do try with the shit that I have to put up with the delinquency in my relationship that I have to put up with. It is absolutely savage. It's absolutely savage. It's Andy Dufresne being put straight into the solitary confinement and the key locked up and thrown away and disgrace, and him having to come back, from the movie Shawshank Redemption. I don't think whoever else has seen it, but you know what I mean? Absolutely humiliated to your core. I mean, again, let's say like Oliver Twist. I mean, it's even worse than this, and he's just so hungry as an orphan. I mean, a really bad world, thrown to the wolves, and he comes to, let's just say, I don't know the whole story, and he comes to a very wealthy man. He says, please, sir, can I have some more? I'm sorry to bother you. You have so much. You have so much. I watched this movie called All the Money in the World. Yeah, it was hectic, based on a true story about one of the wealthiest men in the world, and his grandson gets kidnapped, and they want $17 million, and he refuses. Then they bring him down to $4 million. And then they negotiate, the kidnappers. He negotiate. So he says, I tell you what, he says, I can write it off as tax deductible. He couldn't even spare a cent for his grandson, who apparently he had the closest relationship with his grandson. But this is how this guy did not give a cent to charity. He did not help anybody out whatsoever. You must check out the movie. It's a good, fantastic movie. I mean, it's entertaining. It's not like whatever, but just goes to show. So yeah, he didn't. He didn't pay a cent. I won't ruin the movie for you, but the only time when he was willing to pay was when he worked out that he can deduct it off his tax. Then he was okay with it. Meanwhile, he was buying art. At the same time, he was telling the people, the mother of the kidnapped boy, he was telling her that I've got no money to spend. Everything's tied up. I'm in a big investment. In the meantime, he's busy buying art for millions of dollars. And this is back in the 1960s or 70s or 80s. I don't know when it was. I forget dates. That's the level of what we're talking about. And the more you get lost with the no self, the more you lose, the center of yourself and the navigational compass that comes with the soul, that comes with the self-actualization, and when really you start switching on a whole lot of your sensitivity, a whole lot of your empathy, a whole lot of your intuition, all of these whatever it is comes alive, then you really become more of a higher functioning spiritual being, not just because you reached enlightenment, because you realize that there's no crap self. And that's where you head. I'm saying, and that's what you develop. I'm losing my train of thought again. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the further you move away and the self-murder or the real self, the more you ignore it, the more you neglect what you're supposed to be doing, and the healing and facing the challenges and the fears and everything else, and dealing with the shame and every day, and taking better care of yourself. By again, like, don't be have so much self-doubt. Be there for yourself. Like Aaron, when you upload a video and you think like, oh, people are going to whatever, so be there for yourself and say, no, I felt it was a good video. I didn't care what people say. Be there for yourself. Support yourself. The further we move away from our true essence, the more we get corrupted by culture, society, and some hell of a dark force of some kind of rogue programming virus that takes over and moves us further and further away, absolutely further and further away. And then we become full-blown, like, monsters, which, the level of destruction is incomprehensible, All right, thanks for taking the time.